Let's bring in Michael McFaul, former U.S. ambassador to Russia and MSNBC international affairs analyst. So part of this, ambassador, is to send a message to Vladimir Putin. The West is still united. The West will still help Ukraine. Is Vladimir Putin hearing that message, or is he just sitting there, as we were talking about with Richard, and biding his time?
I think both. So I think this is a great meeting. The autocrats are united, right? Remember, the Chinese, Iranians, Russians, North Koreans, they're all helping Russia. The G7, this is the leadership of the free world, and they're doing some very important things. You mentioned big things about the $50 billion loan. They're using Russian seized assets, the interest from that, to provide this loan. That's a big thing. Signing the security pact, that's a big thing. I'm glad that's finally happening. That dozens of other countries have already done it. There's a third one you haven't talked about yet, but the Biden administration put in place some very important new sanctions yesterday. They're going to probably talk about that again today, especially trying to limit technological transfers to Russia's military-industrial complex. That's all good news, just like you're talking about. And at the same time, I talk to Ukrainians pretty much every day. The number one question from President Zelensky on down is who will be the next president of the United States, because they understand crystal clear that that will have radical repercussions for the security of their country.
In talking about how Russia has been reacting lately, obviously they've been making gains on the battlefield. Ukraine was stalled, waiting for 6 months for the American Congress to get it together before we sent another round of funding. But now there's nuclear subs, or at least warships, from Russia in Cuba, passing right by just a few miles off the coast of Miami. What is that signal from Vladimir Putin, and who is he trying to send that signal to?
To you and me. He's trying to say, Mr. President, you've allowed the Ukrainians now to use American weapons to attack us inside Russia, which, by the way, I think was the right decision. They have to be able to defend themselves from people attacking them from Russia. This is to say, well, we're going to come to your neighborhood, too. My reaction to that is exactly what President Biden has done. Don't overreact. They're not going to attack us with these subs, as some people have been describing in the press. Oh, my gosh, this is a Cuban Missile Crisis again. No, it is not. We need to be relaxed about this. It is signaling, but it is much ado about nothing. I think it's the right decision that Biden made before, and he should stick to that decision.
Well, why is it much ado about nothing? Because I think people think, gosh, warships from Russia and Cuba feels a whole lot like the Cold War, feels like Bay of Pigs. We all know how close we got to disaster with that. Why are you so don't worry about it?
Well, it depends on how you think about it. But back then, they needed to put those nuclear weapons in to strike us within minutes. Tragically, today, they can strike us within minutes because they have ICBMs, 1,550 weapons aimed at us right now, nuclear weapons from land, from the sea. So they're not gaining a military advantage by having those ships there. That's the new reality we live in. It's called mutual assured destruction, but it helps to keep the peace. This is not changing that.
So this 10-year deal, which is, again, to supply Kyiv with a wide range of military assistance, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan saying that this is something that he hopes will be hard to unravel. But Donald Trump can unravel this. Is it your expectation that if Donald Trump wins the election in November, Ambassador, that he will step away from Ukraine? He will unravel a deal like this?
Yes. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. And if Mr. Trump is reelected, I'll do everything I can to stop that, as will members of the U.S. Congress and the Senate. But the signaling he's doing right now is that he doesn't care about Ukraine. He thinks he can cut a deal with his buddy, Vladimir Putin, to end the war. And therefore, this idea of committing for 10 years to continue to provide them with military assistance is not something that either presidential candidate Trump nor his immediate circle on foreign policy. This is not something I think they will continue.
Ambassador Michael McFaul, thank you very much.